Hey guys, James here, and we're going to continue with our Housecall Pro QuickBooks error screen. Today we're going to go over a different type of error, a duplicate document error. I talked about previously a duplicate customer error, but this one is document error. And when it's talking about document error, it's specifically talking about invoices most of the time. And what you'll see right here is it's giving you a description of what's going on here. An invoice was manually created on QuickBooks with the same invoice number. Change invoice number on QuickBooks. So most of the time when we get a duplicate document error, the issue is coming from a transaction that is being duplicated, a number that is being duplicated for invoice number between Housecall Pro and QuickBooks. What that means, or what that relates to, is Housecall Pro and QuickBooks have a one-way sync. So anything you do in Housecall Pro will go to QuickBooks under certain circumstances. But anything you do in QuickBooks will not automatically go to Housecall Pro. Now there's a few little things around that, but if you do an invoice in QuickBooks, that invoice will not show up in Housecall Pro. So if you do an invoice between both systems, then what's going to happen is it's going to throw this error because QuickBooks does not allow two invoices to be numbered exactly the same. This is because you are using QuickBooks and Housecall Pro incorrectly. Remember, Housecall Pro is designed to be your invoicing system and your sales system. So you are supposed to estimate your jobs, schedule your jobs, do your jobs, start, stop, finish your jobs, invoice your jobs, receive payments, all through Housecall Pro. If you are using Housecall Pro to schedule the job and then you invoice through QuickBooks, then what you're going to run into is you're going to run into a ton of these duplicate document errors. Plus, you're missing out on the benefit of everything integrating well. With that being said, with the duplicate document error, what I've done here is I've created an invoice in QuickBooks by invoice number 44. I've done the exact same thing in Housecall Pro with invoice 44. Now this is overall a simple fix. All we have to do is change one of the numbers. One thing to keep in mind with QuickBooks and Housecall Pro and the invoice numbering, Housecall Pro starts with your highest number. So if your highest number is 44, the next invoice is going to be 45. So if we add a 0 to this, then it's going to change your highest number to 440. So your next one's going to be 441, and so on and so forth. Makes it nice and simple. It allows you to easily set a starting point that's different. This will happen a lot of times where we get duplicate document errors, where someone was using QuickBooks before they were using Housecall Pro and they integrated and didn't import, or people are invoicing out of QuickBooks either for the same business or a different division of the business. So what we end up looking for here and what we're ending up wanting you to do here is correct this document error number. Now, one thing that gets a lot of people here is in QuickBooks, unlike Housecall Pro where highest number wins out, the last number that was entered is going to be the next number done. So what that means is if you are invoicing for two different companies or two different divisions of the company, and you have one division of the company using Housecall Pro for the service division, we run into this all the time, for the service division over here, and you're invoicing on that service division and it pushes into QuickBooks, but in QuickBooks you're invoicing your new construction or your builds or more detailed things that you don't need like one-time jobs for out of QuickBooks. The next time you do an invoice in QuickBooks, you're going to pick up the invoice number after what Housecall Pro pushed in. Ultimately, long story short to all this gibberish, because I'm sure that that's kind of what you're hearing right now, ultimately what's going to happen here is if you are invoicing through both systems, you need to say, anytime I invoice through QuickBooks, we're going to put this special character in front of it. Most of the time I recommend a alphanumeric character or alphabetical character, so A, B, C, D, E, F, G, something like that, rather than a number. Because if you put a number in front of this, say we put a 1 here in front of the 44, then what's going to eventually happen is Housecall Pro will get to 144, and then you'll start getting this error again. But if we put in like an NC here for new construction, we get two benefits out of this. First and foremost, we're not going to run into this duplicate document error. But second, and most importantly, we can also track all of your new construction invoices. So we're killing two birds with one stone here. With that being said, and with what we're kind of looking at doing here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this is a new construction invoice. So I'm going to put in an NC44 here, and I'm going to save that. What this has now done is it's changed this invoice number. It's no longer 44. When I come over to Housecall Pro, I can reprocess this, and since there's no longer a document number of 44, it's going to go ahead and push that invoice over without any issues. So again, what we're kind of looking at here is the cause of this is because you've got an invoice already in QuickBooks by that same number. We need to go in and modify that invoice in QuickBooks by changing the invoice number, whether we completely change it, whether we add some letters in front of it, something to get this invoice number to change. Once we do that, we can come into Housecall and we can reprocess this error and it will push on through. Now, if you have been using QuickBooks and you elected not to integrate with Housecall Pro, to bring everything over, make sure you come in here and modify this beginning invoice number to where your invoicing left off in QuickBooks. Otherwise, you're going to constantly get this duplicate document error. Now, one thing that I do want to clarify real quick here, because I've heard this 1,000 times, which is completely and totally false, Housecall Pro will never push in a document into QuickBooks if there's already a document with the exact same invoice in there. Again, Housecall Pro will not push in the same numbered invoice between both systems. So if you've got two invoice 44s in there, that's something you did in QuickBooks. In QuickBooks, it will give you a warning, but you can override that warning. Housecall will give you a warning, but will not let you override it. So that is fixing a duplicate document error. This is not talking about multiple invoices or anything like that. This is only fixing duplicate document errors. So guys, if you have any questions or if you need more assistance, please feel free to reach out to me at Waterford Business Solutions. Give us a call, shoot us an email, and we'll be happy to work with you. But I hope this has helped solve your issue.